Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're going to pull back the curtain and take a real look at the craft of therapy. Like, what is it really? How does it actually work? And how do you even know if it's working? We've all seen therapy in movies, right? Someone lies on a couch and just talks. But there is so much more going on. So today, we're going to get past those stereotypes and really dig into the structured, thoughtful process behind real, effective therapy. All right, so first things first, before a therapist even thinks about using a specific technique, everything, and I mean everything, is built on a solid foundation. These aren't just, nice ideas. They're absolutely essential to create a space where healing can even begin. And you know what's wild? The most important thing isn't some complicated psychological trick. It's actually the therapist's ability to just be fully present. It's all about creating a space where you feel genuinely seen, respected, and, this is the big one, safe. Safe enough to even start that tough work of healing. Okay, check this out. This slide is so important because it shows two totally different approaches, side by side. On the left, you've got the trauma-aware stance. It's all about collaboration. It's about making sure you feel safe before digging for insights. It's about being curious, not just making assumptions. This is a huge, huge shift from some of those older kind of confrontational styles of therapy. Okay, so once that foundation of safety is there, what's next? Well, now we get to the how. Think of it like a therapist has this amazing toolkit filled with all these different methods or modalities, and each tool is designed for a very specific job. You got to use the right tool for the right problem, right? And first up is probably the one you've heard of, cognitive behavioral therapy, or CBT. The whole idea behind CBT is to help you spot and break those unhelpful cycles we all get stuck in. You know the one where a thought pops up, that triggers an emotion, and that emotion leads to a certain behavior, and the whole thing just goes round and round. So this is what that actually looks like in practice. A therapist using CBT will help you pinpoint those specific thought traps, like catastrophizing. That's when your brain just jumps to the absolute worst-case scenario every single time. Once you start mapping out those patterns, you can learn how to challenge them, how to reframe them, and boom, you break the cycle. But here's the thing, not all of our stress lives up in our heads, right? Have you ever had that tight, knot in your stomach feeling when you're anxious? Well, that's where something called somatic therapy comes into play. It's all about how our bodies physically hold on to stress and trauma, like in our actual nervous system, not just in our memories. So what does that look like? Well, a therapist might guide you through some simple breath work to help calm your nervous system down, or they might just help you notice things in the room that make you feel safe, right here, right now. The whole goal is to reconnect your mind and your body so you can safely process and let go of all that physical tension that's tied to emotional stuff. And finally, there's another tool called dialectical behavioral therapy, or DBT. This one is for anyone who feels like their emotions are just huge, super overwhelming, super intense. DBT is designed specifically for people whose nervous systems feel like they're constantly on overload. It's all about giving you practical, hands-on skills to get through those crisis moments. Now, what makes DBT so different is that it is super skills-based. Seriously, it's way less about digging into the past and much more about learning real, tangible things you can do right now to handle the present. We're talking concrete skills for getting through a tough moment without making it worse, for managing your emotions, and for just communicating better with people. Okay, so therapists are working with all this stuff. How in the world do they keep track of it all? It's definitely not just random chats. There's a really disciplined method to how they document the whole process, and it's what makes sure therapy stays both ethical and, actually effective. Yeah, so a therapist's notes are an absolutely crucial tool for understanding your journey. But, and this is so important, these notes are not a diary full of opinions. Nope, they are a factual, objective record based on what can actually be seen and observed. It has nothing to do with judgment. It's all about creating a clear blueprint of the therapeutic process. And this slide just nails the point. It shows the incredible discipline this takes. A therapist would write something like, "Client appeared dysregulated and tearful," which is just an observation of an emotional state. What they would avoid is a subjective loaded word like, "Client was hysterical." See the difference? Sticking to the facts creates a way clearer and, frankly, much more respectful picture of what's happening. Okay, so this all sounds great in theory, right? But how do you actually know if it's working, like for real? How does a therapist, or even you, track progress in a way that's actually meaningful? Well, the good news is progress isn't just some vague, "I feel better today" kind of thing. Not at all. Good therapy actually tracks concrete, measurable changes. So instead of just guessing, we can look at really specific, observable signs to see what's truly shifting in a person's life. And here are some examples of what that looks like. Progress might be that you bounce back faster after something triggers you emotionally. Or maybe you're not ruminating as much, getting stuck in that endless loop of negative thoughts. It could even be building more pause capacity, that little bit of space between a feeling and how you react. These are the kinds of tangible, real-world changes we're talking about. So when you put all these pieces together, the core principles, the specialized tools, the objective way of tracking things, a really clear picture of what modern effective therapy actually is starts to come into focus. I love this quote because it just perfectly sums up the whole craft. Real therapy isn't about just fixing one-off problems or getting you to comply. No way. It's a guided journey to understand your own deeper patterns, to see how you fit into bigger systems, and ultimately to build the skills you need for real, lasting well-being. So what this whole framework really shows us is that real, meaningful, measurable change is possible when you have the right guidance and the right tools. And that kind of leaves us with a final question to think about for ourselves, doesn't it? If this is the process for change, what's the change you would want to see in your own life?